you were around me and Bob a lot. And,
Yeah.
I think it's rubbed off on you.
It definitely has.
Especially now with, what you're telling me you're doing with your stand-up stuff.
Yeah.
It definitely, I guess it's just inside of you. It's just
It really is.
And now you're drawing it all out.
It really is. You and Bob really gave me permission to be to have unfettered comedy, to just be funny and silly and say it and to use humor to get through some really dark stuff. And it sort of has shaped my humor, but it has made me able to kind of walk through anything with fun and silliness. And so now I get to do it with other comedians, other stand-ups. And it's such an honor, to even be taken seriously and get to do that.
When did you decide to start getting into stand-up? Was it just because it seems like it's just you've been just naturally ushered to the stage to being a stand-up?
Feels true.
Totally organic.
It's true. It's totally organic, and it weirdly happened kind of around the time that Bob passed.
Right. Was it the Mike Binder thing right around then? Didn't he?
That was a few months later that he asked me to do stand up to do a set for him to open. That was my first originally written set. But no, it was interesting. It's always something that people have been like, "You're really funny. You should do it." And I was like, I love just being funny, but I was always stressed out about writing a set and writing material and that, my brain loves to just go and be funny, but sitting down and writing it is the problem. So I just had been encouraged by so many people over the years, you're funny, you should do it. And mainly by you and Bob. And I can't tell you how many times you and Bob gave me compliments about how funny I was, or a time that I, out-bobbed Bob at our Fuller House rap party and said something that was such a dark joke. He went, wow. But he was like, you're really funny. And you guys always encouraged that in me. And I, as I've gotten older, just really leaned into being 100% myself in my comedy. And then it just sort of happened, things kind of kept unfolding. And over the pandemic, I had some friends that I made, some comedian friends that I met online that started having me host this live comedy show with them. And I was like, wait, people that aren't my family, Bob and Dave, are saying I'm really funny and I should do this. And I was like, okay. So
it pushes you up there.
It just pushes me up there. And it started, I started doing more and more of it and being kind of presented with more opportunities. And then, Binder, I had him on one of my first family dinner shows, which is the show that I do at Bourbon Room. It's a panel comedy show. And then he invited me to the Ice House he said, I want you to open for me. I want you to write a 5 to 10 minute set and open for me. And I went up and did it. And it was terrifying. But
you also got hooked.
I got hooked, and it was really well received. And I've now been taking other steps because it's given me this confidence to be like, just go for it.
So where are you pulling material from? Do you write everything yourself?
I write everything.
Do you bounce it off somebody?
I was doing that for a while. I'll still do that. I will say that the show that I do, Family Dinner, which is at the Bourbon Room here in Hollywood in LA, we do a monthly show. It's not necessarily written. It is just me and 3 other comedians, and I have them bring some sort of food that reminds them of their childhood, of their family, of a story, whatever it is. And we use that as kind of an introduction to ask about their lives, about crazy families.
So it's a lot of freeform stuff.
Total freeform. There's no sets. We play games. We roast, different pictures we find from the internet. Just all kinds of completely free-form comedy stuff, and it is so much fun, and we've gotten a really great response from it.
That's terrific. I want to come and see. I promise I won't.
Yes, you absolutely have to.
I won't heckle.
No, please do. It's totally fine.
Now, every comedian always has that one comedian that they kind of emulate. For me, the world really broke wide open. I used to listen to George Carlin a lot, but I knew I didn't have that kind of acerbic wit that he did. When I saw Steve Martin put the arrow through his head and Robin Williams doing characters and voices, my world... You were like,
that's what I can...
the possibilities were limitless.
Yeah.
And so who is that for you?
George Carlin.
Really?
Love, absolutely love George Carlin. Bee's middle name is Carlin, after George Carlin.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Her dad is also a huge George Carlin fan.
Did you ever meet George Carlin?
I did not, but her dad was friends with his daughter, knew her. And actually, before Bee was born, told her that we were putting her middle name as Carlin. And my friend Ben Glebe, who was one of the comedians that really encouraged me, told me that the best joke he ever heard was when I did his podcast. And I told him that. He said, "You got kids?" And I said, "Yeah, my middle daughter's named after George Carlin." And he laughed and I said, "Yeah, you should have heard her first 7 words." And it was like just off the cuff, and he thought it was absolutely hysterical. And so, yeah.
Those were the albums that I listened to.
Yeah.
Toledo Window Box, and trying to remember.
I mean, George Carlin was great. I loved Eddie Murphy. I loved Chris Rock growing up. I mean, Chappelle Show was like hugely influential. I mean, I've always loved going to watch live comedy. Bob took me to my first comedy show at 9 years old.
Yeah, he took you to Laugh Factory.
Took me to Laugh Factory.
Yeah, and you're like, here you are 9, like, oh yeah, Jodie's
Well,
here
it was, he got asked to do a set, and Bob anytime you offered him a microphone, he'd be like, "I'm there."
Yeah.
And I was spending the weekend at the house with Aubrey and Laura and his kids, and we were driving home from set, and he was like, "All right, I didn't tell your mom, but I got to stop by Laugh Factory to do a quick 10." He was like, "But
that is so Bob.
He was like, "You'll just sit in the back," and I was like, "Okay." And I remember sitting up on the back of the speaker and giving him his 5-minute light, and like
they let you give him the.
They let me give him the light, and I remember walking in.
Of course, he went over.
Of course,
he went over. You had to give him the light like 10 times,
right?
Yeah.
And I remember being in that room. I remember it. It was sitting on that speaker. It was electric. And Bob was you guys were huge influences on me too.
Yeah, it was, he couldn't resist doing a set. Wherever there was a mic, Bob was going to get up. And I remember my wedding, like he just kept going up. Like,
remember my 13th birthday party?
Yeah. Like, Bob, this isn't a club.
Right.
It's not a comedy club.
Sure. I'm like, whose funeral did he not? I have video of him on the plane.
Oh yeah.
Giving his announcement. I just saw Kelly the other day for coffee, and we were talking about that. Yeah. An airplane thing, a bullhorn, any vocal projection. Bob was in on it.
I have so many bits that I only did with Bob that I'll be driving in my truck and I'll think, I gotta call Bob. Because like every Christmas, he would call me and sing filthy Christmas songs.
Right, yeah.
But there's all those other stupid bits that you have seen over the years.
That make no sense, by the way.
Make no sense.
Even to us, we go, where did that come from? And it's just those weird inside jokes you have with your family that like, some of them you remember and then some you go, I don't know why we did this, but it's still funny and it just is.
And here's one of those. I'm going to start us off. Heave moneth me.
Moneth with me.
Heeneth muth ma.
Moneth with me.
Moneth me. We don't know what.
Don't know why I do that. It is an unnatural response it's Pavlovian. It really is. If I don't sing it in response, it gets trapped and then I get twitchy.
Yeah, and then you'll be doing it to a stranger later on today, and and then they're gonna look at you. And
you're like, "Maneth with me," and they're like, "Why are you okay?" Yeah.
Just get away from me.